Hey everyone, and welcome. Have you ever really stopped to think about what's going on inside your computer or smartphone when you tap, click, or swipe? These things might look worlds apart on the outside, but underneath it all, they share this fascinating, miniature world of electronics. So, let's go ahead and pull back the curtain and really see what makes them tick.
I mean, seriously, look at them. You've got this big desktop tower on one side, and then this super sleek device that fits right in your pocket on the other. But are they really all that different where it actually counts? Well, that's the big question we're diving into today. How do these two devices, built for totally different jobs, work at their very core?
All right, we are going on a bit of a digital dissection. We're going to see the essential parts that all modern computers share. But, and this is the important part, we'll see how those same components are designed so differently to either go for raw power or for all-day battery life. It's what creates the unique experiences we have with our PCs and our phones.
Okay, let's start right at the top, with the absolute command center of any device. These are the parts that do all the thinking and remember what's happening from one second to the next. First up, the Central Processing Unit, or as you've definitely heard it called, the CPU. If your device were a body, this is the brain, no question. It's the master chip that takes in all your commands, crunches all the numbers, and executes every single instruction that brings your apps, your games, and your whole operating system to life.
So, what makes one CPU better than another one? Well, it really comes down to two key things. First, you've got cores. Just think of these as individual little brains inside the main brain. So if you hear your phone is octa-core, that's 8 cores all working together, which is awesome for multitasking. And then there's clock speed, which we measure in gigahertz. This is just how fast each of those cores can think. A higher GHz means faster processing. Simple as that.
And this is where you see the huge difference in design philosophy. A PC's CPU, it's built for raw, unrestrained power. It just assumes it's always plugged into a wall, so it can go full throttle all the time. But a smartphone's CPU, it has a much tougher job. It has to be powerful, for sure, but also incredibly energy efficient to make your battery last all day. It's this constant, delicate balancing act between performance and power.
Now, right next to the brain, you need a workspace, right? And that's exactly what RAM is. It's the device's short-term memory. You know all those apps you have open right now? Or those, 20 browser tabs you swear you're going to get back to? All of that is being held in RAM for super quick access. The more RAM you have, the more stuff you can jungle at once without your device slowing to a crawl.
But here's the key thing to remember about RAM. It's temporary. Think of it like a whiteboard. As long as the power is on, all the notes and drawings stay there. But the second you turn your device off, poof, the whiteboard gets wiped completely clean. This makes it totally different from your long-term storage, which is where your photos and files live permanently.
Okay, so we've got a brain that thinks and a workspace for it to think in. But how do we actually see what it's thinking? Well, that's the job of the system's artist, the component that's responsible for painting every single pixel you see on your screen.
Let me introduce you to the GPU, or the Graphics Processing Unit. Its entire job, its whole reason for being, is to take a bunch of ones and zeros and turn it into the rich, visual world that we see and interact with. Everything from the simple icons and text on your home screen to these breathtaking video game landscapes. Yeah, that's all the GPU making it happen.
And just like with the CPU, how this is handled is totally different between a PC and a smartphone. A high-end gaming PC will have a huge, separate, dedicated GPU card. It's all about maximum performance. A smartphone, on the other hand, it integrates its GPU right onto the main processor chip. Why? To save precious space and sit battery, while still being powerful enough for smooth video and all your mobile games.
Okay, so we've got a brain, a workspace, and an artist. Awesome, but how do they all talk to each other? Well, that's where the system's unsung hero comes in, its central nervous system.
This is the motherboard. You can think of it as the foundation that everything else is built on. It's this incredibly complex circuit board with a whole network of electrical highways, these data pathways that let the CPU, the RAM, and the GPU talk to each other constantly and instantly. Honestly, without it, you just have a box of expensive, silent parts that can't do anything.
So let's trace a single command just to see how this works. Say you click to open a photo. Your CPU sends out that request, and it zips across the motherboard to your storage drive. The drive finds the photo and sends that data flying back across the motherboard to the CPU and the GPU, which then work together to display it on your screen. And this happens millions of times a second, all thanks to the motherboard.
All right, finally, let's touch on the essential life support systems. These are the components that provide the power, the long-term memory, and basically the climate control that the whole system needs to function and stay alive.
This really covers three critical things. First is storage. Unlike that temporary RAM, this is the permanent filing cabinet for all your photos, files, and apps. Then you've got the power supply. Think of it like the heart, pumping the lifeblood, the electricity from the wall or the battery to every single component. And finally, the cooling system acts as the lungs, making sure all that high-speed hardware doesn't overheat and shut down.
So you see, it's not really about any single part being the star. It's about a symphony of specialized components, each with a very specific job, all communicating at unbelievable speeds through the motherboard. Whether it's happening inside a huge PC tower or a tiny phone, this fundamental harmony is what creates that seamless experience we all kind of take for granted.
And that really brings us to a final thought. We've seen how the core principles are the same across devices, but those design goals, power versus efficiency, they change everything. So as engineers keep making these parts even smaller, even faster, and more mind-bogglingly efficient, what kind of new devices will that make possible? What will the device of tomorrow even look like? It's a pretty exciting thing to think about. Thanks so much for joining me.